everyone. It is Char's Fashionatedly bringing you a part one. Might wonder why I'm using this camera, right? Y'all, I'm not going to say yet. But, yes, I have my handy dandy camera remote. And today we are working on that beautiful silk fabric. Now I noticed that this silk has a poly. I'm not really sure that this is actually a true silk because most true silks do not have this. So what we're going to do today, obviously the bodice, we're doing the bodice today. I'm going to put this bodice together over here on the machine. I have a lot of bobbin. Remove my socks. Oh, I don't know about anybody else that sews. I do not like sewing with shoes on. Absolutely not. So what I will do is make sure I don't even have socks on. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you sew mine? Would you sew mine? Won't you sew my dress today? Part of it, yes. Part of it, yes. And it's mine. So, sorry about the weird Sunday singing. But now we're just going to come over here. Make sure that everything is correct. And one thing I like to do, and I know a lot of people think that, this might be a bit auspiciously weird because I still have this here, right? Excuse me. Go ahead and if you can get a hold of it, I have nails on. Beautiful nails. I love putting them on. They're from Izzy B Creations shop. So let me bring you in on the sewing machine. And what I like to do is most of the time I get these loose without, and make sure that your screws are tight on here, but not so tight that you can't get them off. I shouldn't put that right there. That's delicate fabric. Now this fabric that I'm working with today is a dry, clean only fabric. If you have a nail and you have these sort of loose, go ahead and just use that as your screwdriver. Things can get a bit scray here and we don't want to lose our stuff. So, yep, we definitely don't want to lose that. So make sure those are together. Remove the plate. And this is just for a quick clean. You can also remove the foot on this. Put that aside. This is just for a quick clean of the machine. Grab you a little sweeper. Everybody needs one. And down in here, I can already tell that this needs to be swept clean anyway. Now make sure you sweep everything clean and set this aside. And I'm going to show you why. This is why we need to clean our machines. Yuck, yucky, yucky. We got to clean our machine. And that's why we cannot let our machines get gross and dirty, right? Because then what happens? They stop working. So also, this will be partially a part of a requested video of how to with the machine. Just make sure that you have something to sweep that clean because that does get rather dirty over so many sews. And you really got to get down in there to get all the gross. All the gross. Gotta remember to get this. Anyway. And remember to keep like a little waste basket underneath your desk because that is important. and reach down in there with this really, really good all the way around. Because this, look, thread and material, when it's down in here, thread does tend to get buzzed. Doesn't matter the color of the thread. You could be working with a mixed thread and it will make one heck of a colorful mess. See what I mean? Like, you go down in there, you have this mess right here on that. So we're not going to take too much time showing you how to sweep this, because I've already just done that on another one. Oh, excuse me. I ate something spicy, and sorry, you was zoomed in on my shoulder. And sometimes when I eat things spicy, my face itches. Now, when you go to put this back in, put it down in here like this. Now, you want to make sure that this little niche on this part fits underneath this. There's another piece of plating there that it needs to fit under. And I'll show you why when I put the whole plating back on. Now that we got that back in there, you make sure that you have it this way, because this is your bobbin. That back down in there, drops right on. This is the part where you might get a bit screwy. Yeah. And then, oh my gosh, yeah, sometimes it's like, sometimes you gotta mess with it until it goes back on there. And then she goes. Same on this one. But be careful to get your hands a little dirty when doing this. It's gonna happen. You feel you need to wipe your hands off that. I have no problems doing this. I know it's okay. Now, you want to make sure that that thread piece is not going to get stuck anywhere when you're popping this back on. Pull it a bit. I'm not worried about what's up here on the top. I have that secured. See, I don't have glasses on. Where's my glasses? Right? Pop that back up. Take that thread back there. Take your bobbin. Pop that back in. Catch it. Thread it over. Take that. Your plastic plate that holds that. And now we can get down to the business of sewing. So this is going to be great. I don't want my lamp on much today. I don't know, my eyes have been extra sensitive to light lately. It's just. Okay, so we're going to lightly drop that. And you might wonder why I'm not using my pale pink threading with this. Well, I'm saving that for another project. And make sure that you have this on serger. You want to make sure this is on serger. And you want that blue S here. This is for making buttonholes, and it goes with that. But I kind of sew my buttonholes by hand. So the S2 is for the other serger set right there. But I like to use the S1. Make sure your foot pedal is comfortable for you. And don't forget to hit the reverse button. You only need to go back just a little bit to lock your stitch. maybe nails are sort of coming in handy for me for some things, like taking the needles out. If you can't get it out, just lift the foot, hold your fabric in place. Now with this kind of fabric, I'm going to sew slow. Because it's going to slip on you just a little bit. Remember that thing I said, if it kind of catches a little, your thread, just tug it, and that'll come loose. This is basically the tail of this thread here catching. And go slow. See, like right here. Catches just a bit, you heard that. And because this is slippery fabric, you really want to make sure that you go smooth. So what we will do today is just do some of the bodice, because with the bodice, you don't want to go all the way to the very end on this, and there's a reason, because when we roll that fabric back to stitch it, you want to make sure, absolutely sure, that you have enough here and at the collar. Slip them away. Snip these away. And then on the inside of that, we will have this lovely seam line. Now with this, I would steam it. Absolutely do not put a hot iron to this unless you put a cloth over it. So remember, do not put a hot iron to this unless you put a cloth over it. Preferably something cotton. So let's say you have a spare piece of cotton fabric that you could just lay right over it to do that. Absolutely do it. But whatever you do, just don't put your hot iron on that. You'll so mess that up. So now what we do, if we're going from this side, is we're going to leave a little bit on the end of that. So put the foot down. Don't drop it. Put it down gentle. Remember, our machines are our investments. Now, you could probably tell that that had a slight slipping in it while I was sewing. I'm not really going to worry about that, because we're able to pull it back where it belongs. Make sure you have it straight. Now, I'm also doing this video for my one viewer that's new to sewing. Her relative left her a machine, and she would just love to learn the basics. And there's nothing wrong with starting basics. That's absolutely where you begin. You begin with the basics. Now, remember, again, because this is slippery, put that down, put it over here, back it up. I know I went like all the way over here, but I'm not going to do that on the other side, even though I could. Go ahead, forward, and we'll back stitch that. Make sure you have your needle up. That way. Now, like I said, remember to be very gentle with this fabric for a specific reason. Carefully clip your threads away carefully. That way you don't accidentally touch the material and mess that up, because we do not want that to happen, do we? Okay. So, now, show you this. Now that it's like this, now here's a very important part of this. Now that you have it like this, right? Now normally I would have had the one piece as the front, like I did that one blue dress with the native print trim, but I have decided that the back should be the front and the front should be the back. Now this is why we have to be careful. We want to make sure that our neck hole is actually a real size neck hole for us. So there's a reason why I showed you that. I already had planned to refit the collar here along here, yeah, right, along here, and that's what we're gonna do. Is we are going to redo that. Now, when I do this, I like to make sure that I have it laid this way, so that this is now towards me and I can see how I actually want that. Now, because I have a lot of hair and I want to make sure that my whole head fits in this, you can just go in, drop your neckline. I know it seems a bit scary, it can be. Drop your neckline. Now at this point here, okay, at this point here, you can actually figure out if you want your neckline to be in a round, a square, or if you wanted it to be a V-neck at this point. Now, the other thing I would suggest as a beginner, that you take it and you lay it like this, if you're a beginner. And one very handy tool to have is a rotary cutter. Why? Instead of sitting there, I was only doing the scissors because that makes it easier for a lot of people to like realize, oh, you could also just take your scissors and do that. Now, I wouldn't have normally just taken the pink handled scissors anymore because I do have my fabric scissors. Sorry, I had a seizure yesterday. Getting my speech back. Your fabric scissors are very important. Fabric scissors, your scissors for cutting other things, and again, a rotary cutter. So, like I said, you know, we really want to make sure that this is laid out right if you're going to use your rotary cutter to be able to bring that neck down and around here. Now, the only reason that I would use a scissor at a point is because you just need to be extremely careful with rotary cutters and your phalanges. Serious, rotary cutters and your phalanges. Sometimes you need to change out the blade in your rotary cutter. Sometimes you can sharpen the blade. I haven't bought any new blades for my rotary cutter. I don't know why. I just have it. It still works. I don't use it a lot, but it still works. Now, this is also where you see if that's how you want it. And make sure that your head fits through this thing, because that's important. Oops, I have a ponytail in. Also remember that when you're working with this, if you have a ponytail in, that's an obstacle. Now, the other thing I can do with this is go ahead and drop back on this angle of the neck, drop it back, and then we will have that completed. So we will do that because we need to. But I also want to show you guys with the sides. I'm not worried about this part right now because I know how to sew in the round. A lot of things I know how to do in the round. And the reason that I like to really do the neck hole first is so that you can slip it on and see how it fits on your sides. Now with this, I might actually also decide to cut it up the front. Now this is another option with this piece, is to cut it in the middle, which is always an option, because that also gives you the option to either lay in buttons, in which I do have some pearls that I plan on stitching on. Now I can also use those pearls as the buttons on the front of a dress. Is it cute? Yes. Do I want to do that with this? Not really. So that's also why I was saying you can go ahead and cut your neck how you want it. Now for the back, I'm not really too worried about it because I have it laid out a specific way. And I can just go ahead and drop that. Make sure it just sweeps back. Now, what pattern did I use for this? I used one of my vintage patterns for doing this. It's the same vintage pattern that I used for that blue dress with the native print trim. Now that we have that, we actually need to go back to the front, which is a different size altogether. And if you really don't find that it fits, go ahead and trim. So, I mean, since I do have my ponytail in, that is kind of an obstacle. If I had my double braids, it wouldn't. That's okay though. Still, in some patterning, it also depends on your fabric, how it's going to work, and how it's going to work for going very smooth for cutting. This is actually very true. Sometimes fabrics do not want to cut smooth. Look at this. This is not that bad. And I think it's mostly because of the lovely scissors that I have. Remember, when you want to start sewing, make sure that you always have a good scissor. That's important for designing and making your own garments or garments for other people. Now we will turn it like this. Y'all, I believe we have a bodice. A bodice. Now, like I said, this is very important to make sure where it fits on your person. That's why I have my 18-hour bra on. So I do have some of this fabric left. So that means what I will do is add that into the bodice. Now, we can go ahead, before we do the other part of the bodice, we can go ahead and roll our neckline back. Very, very important to roll your neckline back. Just like that. Now, if you're a beginner sewer, make sure you pin it, because beginner sewers, you really need to get the experience and the feel of the how-to. Like I said, this is probably just going to be one of my how-to videos. Sewing is kind of a how-to. How to create your own you. Now on this part, I suggest, because you're doing this on the neckline, you want to take this setting here over to a straight stitch. Take it to and I like using the same glue setting here, the S1, for some things. Now what I will do here is put that on a 1. Put this on a 1 that is a narrow straight stitch, and that's something that you really want for a delicate fabric such as this. And this always happens. This is fun. Not fun. Sometimes your thread will come out. Go ahead and pull it lightly. Bring it down. Bring it over. This is also showing you how to do this. Maybe there was a reason for that, huh? And if it looks a little fuzzy right here, trim it. Just trim it until it's no longer fuzzy. Bring it over here. Make sure that you have the eye of your needle up here where the white is right here. And that is the very, very key. So let me show you. Very, very key for this right here, because you want to be able to see. Now, it's harder with darker thread to be able to do this, at least in my experience. And even without my glasses, might have my head in the way, sorry. Even without my glasses, I can usually rethread just using a lighter thread. And if not, do your grandma's old trick and make sure you get that thread back in there. So bring it back out just a bit, because my cranium is going to be in the way momentarily. Okay. And there is something that happens every once in a while when you go to rethread is, now see, with the silk or satin fabric, you can literally pull that thread through and not have a problem. Now, this is, now that we got that rethreaded, remember reverse stitch, I'm going to lock that. As you notice, I'm not really holding too much of it down. I may be holding it by 1/8 of an inch. To roll this back. I'm not too worried about this one because this does not have too much grain. Now, most silks and satins will commonly have braid. So when you start out to make a garment, make sure that you use a cotton fabric that does not fray. One day I'll get the permission of the Hobby Lobby corporate to show you. Which fabrics that you can choose that either have rain or low fray and a no fray. We don't have to be afraid to sew with it. Sewing jokes. They can be so funny. Now remember, if it feels like it's going to stick just a bit, and I'm going to lay this flat, remember you can just pull it through while you're stitching. Now, here is one thing that happens sometimes when you're bringing it around. So it'll like go back that way. Remember to make sure that that is right under the foot of the needle. And I will bring you in on that. I'll show you. It might look like it puckered. It does a little bit, but that's the style I'm going for. Something with like a little pucker on the edges just for design purposes. So, just so you know, that's on purpose. And I'm trying to keep it on the left side of the stitch foot so that it aligns with the needle perfectly. Or as perfect as it can. Nothing's really perfect. We just try our best. Now, once you have gotten into sewing for a lot of years, like I have, you really get used to it. So, we will do this part of the bodice today. I will cut the extra bodice threading for the sides, and then we will get that stitched in on another day, or I might go ahead and get the bodice finished off camera. And then we'll just come back to like finishing the dress that I'm making so that you guys can enjoy how to do that. Okay, now we are almost finished with the rounded off of this. So get this particular thread already cut away. Back and let her sew. Stitch that, pull it out, just poquito, trim, and I shall show you the neckline. The neckline. Yes. Just shut that off. Ah, this is going to be so great. Now let me turn this the other way. And this is the neckline. This is the back. This is obviously the front because I want it to drop down just a little bit. And I think it's cute so far. I kind of wanted that puckered. Like I said, you can iron this as long as you have it on a setting for that. I really don't mind how the hemlines came out. Those came out really nice. Like I said, with this one, I bought a bunch of different pearls from the Dollar Tree to go onto 2 garments. And if I don't have enough, I can always purchase more. Don't always think that you have to buy everything from your local fabric or local craft store. Do not hesitate to shop for embellishment pieces like the pearls at the Dollar Tree. You're actually saving money for those same packets with less in it or at fabric stores. I really am liking how this is turning out. The only thing I need to do is add to the sides, even though I did the same cut that I did with that dress. So when I put those in, to be like a side paneling, which I had also thought of, if I had enough of that pink lace left, maybe I would put that on the side panels if they needed extra paneling. And now that it does, that gives me the opportunity to actually embellish the side paneling for this dress that I'm making. So I do have that blue dress with the decorative side paneling. So that's the same thing we're going to do with this. And with that said, I want everybody to stay happy, stay healthy, stay positive, and as always, stay blessed, and look forward to the rest of this dress. I'm not getting married, but I'm saying yes to this dress. And my head one. So I will see you guys in the next one. And so on.